Well, hello and a very warm welcome to the first ever episode of BBC Conference Extra. Now, BBC Conference Extra is a bit of bonus, additional, extra content for you, in addition to the main Building Business Capability Conference content. We'll be running a series of live streams during the breaks, and we've got a fantastic lineup for you. We've got about 17 speakers over the 3 days. We've got a panel session, we've got a competition, and much, much more besides. And it really is live, so anything could happen. There'll be a bit of chaos thrown along the way, I'm sure. Another really cool thing about BBC Conference Extra is we are simultaneously streaming live to YouTube. Now, what that means is if you've got colleagues, friends who perhaps couldn't make it to the main BBC conference, well, they can pick up just a little bit of a taster from the YouTube streams. And that might convince them to buy a ticket, if not for this year, then maybe for next year. Now, one of the things I'm sure we all know about the BBC conference is it is a very, very social conference. And even though we're in a virtual world this year, it is no different. Be sure to make really good use of the online networking in the conference app, but also be sure to engage with social media. It's a great way of sharing what we're learning at this conference outside and engaging with the wider global BA community. The official conference hashtag is BBCConf. That's BBCConf with an F. And I've been checking Twitter and Twitter and LinkedIn, and there's already a few posts on there. So, get tweeting. You could tweet, sort of screenshots like your virtual selfies as well. Now, because these live streams are live, we can also do shout outs. So if there's something you're celebrating, if there's something you've learned that you want to share with others, or maybe even if you just want to, say thank you to a colleague, all you need to do is type the URL shoutout.link, that's shoutout.link, into your web browser, and we'll cover as many shout-outs as we possibly can as these episodes progress. There's even the ability to upload a photo on that form. So if you've got a particular, maybe you've taken some notes and you want to share them, or you've got a selfie of you that you want to share live on air, we'll cover as many of those as we possibly can. Now, in this session, we have two fantastic topics. We're going to be talking about leveling up your career, and we're also going to be talking about debunking some agile BA myths. I'm sure these are topics that are very, very dear to many of our hearts. So first, I'm really pleased to welcome Laura Brandenburg. Now, Laura is founder and CEO of bridgingthegap.com, and I've known Laura for, well, I was trying to work this out before the show, for well over a decade. I first came across Laura's work through bridgingthegap.com and the fantastic content and community that she built there. Laura is speaking on Thursday at 8 a.m. with a presentation entitled Level Up, How to Experience Career Success Without Burnout. And I'm really pleased to say that she agreed to join us here for a quick chat today. So Laura, thank you very much for joining us. Laura, I think you're on mute.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me here, Adrian. It's an honor.
Fantastic. And I think that phrase, you're on mute, has become like the catchphrase of 2020.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh, I forgot again.
We're all doing it. So Laura, your session is entitled Leveling Up, How to Experience Career Success Without Burnout, which I think sounds really fascinating. And I suspect we all have a slightly different view on what success looks like. So I wondered, do you have any recommendations, tools, or techniques for how people can define their career goals?
Yeah. And I think you hit it spot on. A lot of times when people think about success, they think about like a standard version of success, like the house and the car and the job and the salary and all those things. And when I talk about success, I really do try to help people understand what does success look like for them. And some of those things might be really important to you, and some of them might not, right? So the question to ask, because we're BAs, we love to ask questions, is always this is the power question, is what do you want? what do you want out of your career? What do you want out of your life? What do you want your day to look like? What kind of projects do you want to work on? But really just sitting with this question of what do you want? And listening to what comes up when you ask that question. We're not trained as children or as adults to really like sit in the discomfort of not knowing the answers to questions like that. So sometimes I do think we need to give ourselves quite a bit of space. So if there's a technique there, it might be journaling, it might be meditating, it might be just allowing yourself to be quiet for a bit and kind of see what percolates up. But really giving some space for that question. And a variation on that, which I do on a daily basis, is what do I want to do today? Right? And some days it's like, I just want to go for a walk on the beach today. And some days it's, actually, I really feel like doing some planning for my month so that I can stop worrying about all these tasks on my to-do list and kind of get things organized. So just on a daily basis as well, asking myself, what do I want? And that helps you tap into this idea of what does success look like for you. And another piece that I want to share here is about frustrations and kind of watching for those negative emotions. So when do you feel jealous of somebody? When do you feel frustrated about your current state? When do you wish things were different? Because that is really good information. Not that you want to stay in that negativity at all, because that doesn't get you to what you want, but you want to take that. It's like the yes, but response that we get on a wireframe, right? Like, oh no, that's not what I want, but okay, this isn't what I want because I'm frustrated, but what is it that I actually do want? And use that as a trigger to help you figure out what you really do want.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Laura, because as you were talking there, I was thinking, oh, this is kind of like self-elicitation. This is like turning our BA skills and like holding a BA mirror up to ourselves in a way.
For sure, for sure.
So you mentioned sort of goals there, and I think one thing that is probably a little bit controversial when it comes to setting career goals is whether we actually measure against something. Like there's that old expression that you can't manage it if you don't measure it type of thing. So I wondered, would you recommend setting milestones and measuring against them, or do you take a different approach?
I definitely recommend setting goals because you really don't know where you're headed unless you have a goal. And so I recommend people setting goals for the title they want, the projects they want to have, the salary they want to receive, whatever is important to them. But I think where we can get caught up with goals is then thinking that progress happens in some sort of linear incremental fashion, right? And often what I see happen is things like that come in big leaps. And they often come in unexpected ways, right? So like we have to have those goals so we know where we're headed and can take some forward action to move ourselves forward. But we also have to hold them a little lightly. And so when we think about measuring against milestones, a lot of times that can just be used as a self-critical, self-judgmental way to show us when we're not on track. And so I actually encourage people to look for positive things that they can measure along the way. So inside a lot of our coaching programs, we really focus on the wins that people are experiencing. So getting them to see what wins did I create today, this week, this month? What successes have I created? And really to get into that mindset of success creation and experiencing those wins and acknowledging those wins as a way to shift your mindset and to see the measurable progress you're making towards those goals rather than kind of focusing on a milestone that you might feel off track from.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I love what you said there about like holding the goals but holding them lightly, because it's probably fair to say for all of us that we might be doing things slightly differently than we expected. Like I wouldn't have expected that I'd be standing in front of a camera right now. You know, if you told me that 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But so I guess holding them lightly and thinking about like the essence of the goal and having almost like as you were speaking, I was thinking it's almost like personal agility. It's like keeping the bigger picture in mind, but realizing that, you know, making steps towards it, but realizing that that path changes. Would you say that's a fair summary, Laura?
For sure. And I have another example of how this happened for one of the women I work with. Is she had a goal to be in a senior level role, and she definitely wanted a salary increase out of that. And she had started, like we had done in the coaching, really defining what that would look like for her. And her path that she was starting to actively move towards was to actually relocate into a new area, both to create more opportunity for herself, but also just to have kind of a change of environment and a change of a lot of things, right? And as she was starting to get crystallize that plan, an opportunity locally popped up for her, and she was about to say no, like to even taking the next step, because she was kind of going down one path, and we encouraged her, well, you don't have to, you're not committing to accepting the job. Just like go and interview again, go and kind of see what the offer is. And it ended up being a role that ticked off all the boxes that she wanted in her career, and a $30,000 salary increase, and kind of like all the things she wanted, right?
Wow.
But it came in a way that she wasn't expecting. And so sometimes we do have to kind of let go of how we see that goal coming to be, so that we can see that or take advantage of the opportunities in front of us.
Yeah, definitely. That's really interesting. So sort of letting go of preconceptions, and as you were speaking there, Laura, I was thinking it's interesting because I mean, we are living, I know it's a cliche, but we're living in unusual times where we're all much more physically separated than we perhaps normally are. And in an office environment, if someone was struggling or had low morale, a colleague might see it and go and help them. How do you think, if someone is looking for support, if they feel stuck or constrained, how can they find support in this virtual environment we find ourselves in?
Yeah, I think one thing to remember right now is that everyone is craving connection. So you do have to try a little harder, though, to connect, right? So like the default kind of serendipitous connections that might have happened in an in-person environment aren't as likely to happen. Like you can't just go to an event and expect that you'll sit next to a cool person and have a great conversation and kind of feed that connection that you need. You have to do a little bit, be more proactive about it. And so I think this is a beautiful time in the business analysis community, whether you are part of the conference or not, to be in the comments on the video stream that's happening here, to be in the app if you are part of BBC, and answering questions, chatting in sessions, and watching for the people that you connect with and reaching out to them beyond the scope of the conference or beyond the scope of commenting on the video.
Yeah.
And having a chat, having a conversation. I actually have 3 group coaching programs that I am personally a part of, as well as 2 like masterminds of just smaller groups of people within those larger group programs that I connect with every other week. And those happen by me consciously joining communities where I was going to find people with similar interests and similar goals that I had. Yeah. And then not just like paying the money to be part of those communities, but then also investing time in those communities, reaching out to people, making the connections, sharing in the groups, yeah. And having those conversations. So you really do have to be a little bit more proactive about it right now.
That kind of proactive, cultivated serendipity in a way. So, yeah. So okay, well, I wouldn't want you to give too much away about your presentation, but are you able to share like just one brief, quick takeaway that you'll be imparting in your presentation?
Yeah, and this comes to burnout, because we talked a lot about success here, but we haven't talked as much about the without burnout piece. And the tip there is the law of sacrifice. So the law of sacrifice says in order to receive something of a higher nature, we have to let go of something of a lower nature. So often the reason we associate success with burnout is because we feel like we have to do everything that we're currently doing and all these additional things to achieve this extra result. Yeah. And the reverse is actually true. You need to let go of what's not serving you, the meetings, the tasks, maybe the mental burden you're putting on yourself to do things a certain way. And that it's in that letting go process that you create space for more. Fantastic. And so that's a really important piece of any kind of growth.
Definitely. Very, very useful takeaway there, Laura. So I'm sure that people will want to go to your session. They'll also, I've no doubt, want to stay in touch, follow you, get to know more about your work. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn under Laura Brandenburg. I'm also on Twitter at LL Brandenburg, and thank you for that reminder, because I will be re-engaging on Twitter. I always am part of Twitter mostly when we're in conferences. And then you can go to my website at bridgingthegap.com. There are hyphens, so it's bridging-the-gaps.com. And I also have a book on Amazon called How to Start a Business Analyst Career.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat today. I'm sure I'll catch up with you around the conference, and yeah, see you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Adrian.
Thanks. So some really, really wise words there from Laura, and I was finding myself really thinking about like letting go, almost like personal agility. What almost stuff am I doing that I don't need to do? So maybe that's a thought that I'll be taking through the conference and with the other speakers that we see as well. As a reminder, Laura is speaking at Thursday, so tomorrow at 8 a.m. So don't miss that. Don't miss that. If you do have a schedule clash, and if you've got access to the recordings, then remember you can go back and watch the recording as well. Now, I mentioned in opening that there is going to be a competition, and the competition is going to be a common thread that weaves its way through these live streamed broadcasts. How would you like to have a free ticket, a free 3-day ticket to the BBC 2021? Imagine having a guaranteed ticket. Imagine not having to grovel to your manager to write a business case to get a purchase order. Well, you could be one lucky winner who wins that. All you need to do is get your social media gloat on and use LinkedIn or Twitter, and you use the official conference hashtag, which is BBCConf. That's BBC Conf with an F, to share something, your biggest conference takeaway. It might be a conference selfie. I've seen people sharing pictures of themselves and their, and what they're learning and so on. And after the conference closes, we will be picking one lucky winner who will win a free ticket to the BBC Conference 2021, which is just awesome. And remember, every time you tweet or make a LinkedIn update, that's another entry. So as if there wasn't enough reason to get active on social media, there's another really, really good one. Also, if you're into competitions, do check out the sponsors booths. Now, there are many reasons to check out the sponsors booths, but I was having a quick look before this show. There are some awesome prizes there. Just a few I happen to see. You've got Irwin, who have got a Bose wireless headphones, Mega International Bose Bluetooth speaker. Great brand, Bose, obviously a theme going on there. Netmind have a course voucher worth up to $2,400. Software AG, Amazon Echo, IIBA have got an Amazon Echo-y thing. UBC Saunder Continuing Business Studies, a course voucher. iGraphics, Apple Watch, and there's many, many more besides. Those were just the ones I had a quick look at. So check out the sponsors booths. Of course, engage with them, understand their products, but into the competitions as well. Now, as a reminder, because this is live, you can submit your own shout-outs. If you'd like us to celebrate a success that you've had or mention a colleague, just hit the URL shoutout.link into your browser. And believe it or not, we've already had someone submit a shout-out. Judy Alter says, "Happy birthday, Jared Gorai." For the 23rd. So let's all join, join for, and if you don't know Jared, he's a really key member of the IIBA team, does an awful lot for our community. So happy birthday, Jared, for the 23rd. So with that in mind, let's move straight on to our next section. Angela Wick is a name that I am certain will be known to many of us in the business analysis, business change, and agile communities. You may know her as the creator of awesome online content. She's founder of BA Squared and BACube.com, and today she's going to talk to us about agile BA myths. So Angela, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Angela Wick from BA Squared and BACube.com. Today I want to chat about 3 agile BA myths. Well, let's start there with a plain old fact. Many of the traditional ways of doing BA work go against the agile values. But this doesn't mean there's no role for a BA, no documentation, and no planning in agile. We just have to shift our mindset to a different set of values, to a different lens, and with a different lens, we can do amazing BA work on agile teams and show incredible value. You see, the real truth is that truly agile teams focus on getting feedback from users and stakeholders and fast, based on real working software. They realize that perfect requirements documents, perfect analysis, perfect models, perfect planning, it just doesn't exist. Things are changing too fast around us to be perfectly detailed in advance. So let's break down each myth one by one. The first myth, there's no role for a BA in Agile. It's all a myth. Well, the skills a BA can bring to an Agile team are absolutely critical. Yes, skills. But this means that we must change our approach, our mindset, and how we integrate these skills into the Agile team as a team player and highly collaborative. The team needs these skills. Either you're going to bring them or they're going to find them on the team somewhere. But we just have to think about doing analysis and elicitation differently. We do it all the way along, not all up front. We help the team create amazing user stories just in time that show the value this software brings to the user. We facilitate user empathy with the team, and this in turn inspires amazing design. We analyze data, rules, processes, system flows. We make sure that the user experience is a good one. We are that lens for the team. And we don't do this with a whole bunch of documentation up front. We do this collaborating with the team. We add tremendous value when we use these analysis skills to create a shared understanding and inspire these bigger goals and outcomes that we're aligned to. We use BA skills, but differently than before. Okay, next, the second myth. There's no planning in Agile. Well, that is, there's no planning in things like budgets and schedules and technical modules and exact things. But really the crux of this, you see, I believe that leaders don't actually care about schedules. What? You heard me right. I actually think leaders care more about business results than schedules, and you might agree with that. But the thing is, we are making them make a huge leap from a project deadline to translate to a business result and all the assumptions that go along the way. What if we take away all that? What if we tracked the actual business result we wanted as we deploy each sprint all the way along? You see, when leaders see progress towards actual results versus assumed results based on a deadline, magically deadlines become less important. They see progress all the way along, and the progress is meaningful to business results, not meaningful to technical project plans. Totally different ballgame, totally different conversation. And as BAs, we work magic with our skills, partnering with the product owner and the team to prioritize and define backlog items that can show value every single sprint and get awesome feedback from our users and stakeholders. Okay, the third and last myth. There's no documentation in Agile. Well, again, it all goes back to perspective and context. If I were to ask you, who are you documenting for, and then when and why would they use the documentation, would they actually pay for it, perhaps? You know, if we start to look at these questions, we might start a really meaningful conversation about documentation. And really the most anti-Agile way of working is to document everything in detail in advance. It just takes away from innovation and creativity and the problem-solving process, quite frankly. You see, teams need the learning along the way to develop what's best as they go. I like to use an analogy of cooking dinner. You don't plan the entire month or quarter or year of meals, painfully document it all in detail as to exactly what you're going to cook at exactly what time and exactly how, shop for the whole month in advance, and then go ahead and execute that plan according to a big document that you've got about how to cook dinner every night. You plan at a high level, more detail each week, more detail each day, more detail each meal as it comes. You peel back the layers as they come, altering the plan as needed based on feedback from the family members, grocery store promotions, time constraints, allergies, etc. It would seem silly to plan it all in advance, right? Isn't it funny how we do this naturally in our personal lives? And you might document just what's needed, a recipe here and there, special needs, whatever's needed at the time, your shopping list. You see, there's different roles in the kitchen to put a meal on the table, and it's no different with a BA in Agile. We all use our skills for a common goal to get the work done. Documentation is important, but at the right level of detail, at the right time, for the right purpose and audience. All right, there we have it. 3 Agile BA myths. Are you ready to bust them? Well, I am, and I'm here to help. Stop by my session or my booth, BA Squared and BACube.com. I'd love to chat more with us. All right, always be learning and bust those myths.
Fantastic. I mean, so much to take away from that. It's hard to know where to begin. So much content crammed into a 6-minute video there. Thank you, Angela. And I really loved the whole idea of let's bust those myths. And as a community, as a global community of practitioners, whatever our roles happen to be, we can unite to do that, to deliver those better outcomes. Now, Angela has already presented a tutorial, so if you do have access to the recordings, you won't want to miss that. You'll want to go back and watch that on catch up. She's also hosting a practitioner chat on Friday at 9 AM entitled From BA to Agile Product Owner. Now, in the relatively short time on air, we've actually had a whole bunch of shout outs. You're going to see me scrambling around trying to read them out on my phone now. So first of all, Naomi says, this is my first time speaking at the BBC. I'm super excited. Join me Thursday at 7:45 PM Eastern Time. 7:45 PM Eastern, for how context diagram can boost the requirements process. I'm a huge fan of context diagrams. I think they need more airtime, so that is fantastic. And best of luck with your first speaking opportunity. You will be awesome, I am sure. And Annette says, oops, this is a bit embarrassing. Shout out to Adrian Reed for his tutorial on Monday. Definitely some takeaways I can put into play in the office immediately. Oh, thank you, Annette. That's really, really nice. I really appreciate that feedback. So remember, if you would like a shout out read live on air, just type the URL shoutout.link into your URL browser bar. You can even upload photos and that kind of thing, and we'll cover as many as we can. Also, do keep tweeting and using the official conference hashtag, which is BBCConf. A great way of sharing. Sharing really is caring. So that concludes the first episode, episode 1 of BBC Conference Extra. I do hope you have enjoyed it, viewer. Catch us again at 12:55 Pacific time, where we'll be discussing product management versus project management and digital transformation. 2 fantastic topics. Until then, it's now time for you to go to the next sort of main proper session. So thank you so much for tuning in. Stay in touch and see you at 12:55 Pacific time. Bye for now.